very high energy, productivity, feeling like a very important person, more important than anyone else, a flight of ideas that really flow, a flight of creativity and so on. And then the opposite, which, I mean, it's not an issue of 1 day, 2 days. In between, there'll be weeks, and then it just goes to a place of struggling to do basic things, waking up, hygiene, withdrawing
from people, right?
Yes, and what happens is, because people are used to seeing me as a high energy person, they assume I'm busy elsewhere, but in real sense I've fallen off the grid.
And how many of us are really like that on the outside?
Thank you.
All right, let me just rope in Mr. Kim at that particular point. You work extensively with young people. What do you think as a society we tend to overlook about young people, such that we're not even able to recognize some of these highs and lows that they are going through?
Yes, actually, we think that they're all doing fine, but we realize that they also are going through the same problems and that other adults, I should say, and that also they are going through, and maybe even more. And because adults also have experience of all this kind of highs and lows, and also experience of how to go over them. But young people, now they start now learning about these things, and they really do not know. But that's why the reason why I really focus on nurturing the youth on the mindset training is because since their young age, I wanted to guide them into the right way of how to solve this kind of problem, because they don't know the proper ways. They tend to now fall into like drugs and other comfort, and that people do not know very well. And that's why we are having this kind of mindset education, and so that not falling into those kind of a bad way to solve these problems, just by having the change of the mind, which is psychological, and that is related to our heart. And they are able to, more than able to, also overcome this kind of difficulties and solve the problem. And that's why, that's what our organization is doing with the youngsters.
All right, so I'll talk to you a little bit about your program in just a second, but have you seen children or young people who were considered rebellious making a complete turnaround because someone understood their problem?
Yes.
Right.
Actually, even me myself, I'm also one of them as well.
Really?
Yes. Actually, my father was a missionary as well, and I grew up in the States. And I don't know how I look now on the screen, on my face, outwardly, but I used to cause a lot of trouble and problems. And I was very rebellious. And I didn't know how, and otherwise, how to express my feelings and emotion and the stress and the difficulties that I'm going through. And that's why when I really look back and flash back, I used to express in that way. But by having the change of the heart and the mind, and now I'm a missionary, I'm a pastor also here in Kenya.
You can't believe you're the same guy.
Yes. Actually now, I used to complain to God a lot. My father being a pastor and a missionary, I was like, God, why are you, make me go through all these kind of difficult troubles? My father is a pastor. I also want to be a role model to other youth in our church. But why am I like this? I couldn't actually also understand myself. And I often gave up on my future as well. And I still remember, often telling my friends, saying that, my life is already ruined. Any trouble, I'll be in the front line and do it for you. Yes, because it's already messed up. That's how I used to live.
Wow, okay, all right. And I bring this up because there are quite a number of parents today who now consider their teens or the people they're living with as rebellious, but it could be a cry for help. They could be experiencing something and they just don't know. So it's also a time to be able to reflect, even as a family, on what really is going on in the household. Could there be someone crying out for help? On that note, we really do want to throw our question of the day to you and ask you how you can contribute by helping those who are dealing with mental health issues. How would you go about it? Especially helping people in your community, in your estate. Do you have any ideas on how you can actually be able to be of help to such individuals who are going through the darkest moments of their life? At K24 TV is how you can reach us. Remember, the WhatsApp number is at the bottom of your screen should you want to contribute. And yes, we are going to be sampling some of your text messages as we go along. Okay, so Let me ask you, Charity, part of the issues that we have, or in terms of addressing mental health problems, is our socialization as Africans. First of all, you know, when you listen to things like, okay, you know, you want to kill yourself. Oh, by the way, what do people tell you? Nikubaye kamba, ujiwe. You know, it's like we don't really care about it. We are coming from an era whereby when someone had a problem, what did families used to do? They go and drop people right outside Madare and never to be seen again. So let's talk a little bit about that and the kind of culture that we need to change around mental health.
Okay. I agree with you that, you know, we are socialized to just cope.
Yeah.
If you have an issue, deal with it. And if it is bigger than that, deal with it as a family, but keep it closed.
Yes,
you know?
very
and
good point,
we need to, you know, learn as a culture to be able to expose the things that are uncomfortable, to be able to talk about issues that are uncomfortable, because then that culture will allow us to have candid conversations where then you're able to pick out. This could be, you know, there could be a mental health condition here. So I think one is to change our culture of covering, so to speak, to be able to expose that and to talk authentically, even within families, because sometimes you do find that people talk authentically with friends, but within the family unit, things are not as open, or within the classes in school and so on. So we need to develop that culture. And, you know, it's interesting that even while we were collecting feedback from the country, people were saying that, no, we need to have open and honest conversations.
Absolutely.
And this needs to be a social issue, an issue of social change, sort of a disruption of sorts. And I'm happy that for the younger people, they've started off, but we who are older need to, you know, open up as well.
Isn't it surprising how even, for example, if you have a case of a suicide in a family, they don't openly talk about it. The person is highly, you know, buried, and that case is closed. We don't talk about it.
Yes, that is true. Personally, and I think this is probably the first time I'm talking about it, I have had suicidal thoughts since I was 14.
Wow.
And they have been consistent for the last 26 years. And it's something that I think as a young girl, I was 16 actually when we were in a children's camp or a teenagers camp, and a counselor came and said, suicide is selfish. Tell yourself suicide is selfish. Tell your neighbor suicide is selfish. And that's when I was like, but I've been having these thoughts for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I thought it's, you know, one of those issues that adults do not talk about.
Right.
And so I thought it's something that I'll deal with as an adult. But as an adult, again, it is not talked about.
Yeah.
And because in nature, even when it's talked about, it's the majority that comes through that is connected to depression, where there's a lot of worthlessness and hopelessness. Yet what I was experiencing, I was only actually, you know, started adequate treatment just the other day. That is altruistic suicide, believing that it is death for a cause, which is not as common. So that happens. Sometimes you fear that what you're going through is unfamiliar, but also the fear to be told that you'll need to see a psychiatrist. That's something that people fear. Even in school, we didn't want to be told to see the guidance and counseling teacher. So we fear to say. But I can say from experience that you're better off when you say it. If I had said it when I was 14, I would probably have gotten help earlier.
Right. Pastor Mweni, one of our very good friends of the program, is now with us via Skype. Pastor Mweni, if you can hear me, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. She is a psychologist and a grief specialist. And we are back to mental health issues with you, Pastor Mweni. Such an important conversation that we need to have. I want to start off by asking you if there really is, even just from your studies, whether there is some scientific evidence that shows why some people are more prone to depression or mental health issues more than others. Could there be anything? Okay, so it seems like we do have a problem with Pastor Mweni's microphone, but we're going to be working on that particular connection in just a few. But getting back to you, Mr. Kim, just picking up from what Charity actually said, how are you able to tell someone that it's okay to have such thoughts? And I'm sure you've come across this quite a bit, you know, with your work with people, even in the church, even with the youth. How do you tell them that it's fine, it's okay?
Yes, actually, we tell them, we teach them actually why those kind of thoughts are continuously arising in them. And there is a main cause why such thoughts are continuously coming in them. It is in our mind education curriculum, we teach that it is because of the weak heart. So because your heart is weak and that those kind of thoughts are continuously arising, suicidal thoughts and depression and those kind of thoughts are coming in. And we teach them the core reason why that thought is coming because of the weak heart and why your heart is getting weak. On the other hand, now, how can you then make your heart to become strong, your mind to become strong? We also teach them and so that they will also become free from those kind of thoughts as well.
So what you're saying is that there is a direct link between your emotional and mental health.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So the way you keep your heart and the condition your heart in will ultimately affect the way you think.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And this is what you're calling the mind program.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
because we believe that the mind is able to control the body. For example, many people think stress is bad. Yes, so when you are under pressure and when you get a stress, it's bad. But from America, from one university, and they had a study done on stress. Is stress really bad or can stress really be good? Usually when you have stress or under pressure, our blood vessels tends to become like narrowed and your body and your muscles starts to become stiff. However, now when you see that stress and say that, this stress is good, then instead, these blood vessels widens up and gets relaxed, and then it brings more oxygen and the blood through the blood vessels. They had that kind of study done. So it is not that the stress itself is bad.
It can motivate you.
Yes, how you see that stress is now going to change how your body is going to behave.
Perspective.
Yes, in the same way.
Right.
Now you have so many difficulties and sufferings and mental pressure and all these things. And now it is all about how with the strong mindset, away from the weak mindset, now you practice the strong mindset. And with the strong mindset, how you look at those kind of pressures and how you handle those kind of difficult situation. It is, I believe that is the one that is going to sort out all kind of suicidal thoughts and those kind of things as well. And so that's why it is very important for us to learn how our heart and our minds function, and so that we can also handle them as well.
Wow. Charity, getting back to you and your work as part of the mental health task force, maybe you can tell us what are some of the triggers that were in place that actually got the government to realize mental health is of the utmost importance and we need to dedicate resources and time and personnel to mental health issues in this country. What do you think really just sparked that conversation to just start?
Thank you for that question. I think it was a culmination of various things because the mental health conversation globally has increased. But also even in our news reporting, we'd have a lot of issues attributed to mental health or mental health being raised in terms of conversation than it was before. So I think it's a culmination of different things. But we're very happy and excited that Kenyans came in big numbers. They really spoke their hearts, and especially on issues of noticing that anxiety, stress, and levels of suicide have increased or have increased in terms of more teenagers and the youth having suicide as an option, which is not something that we're used to. So we are happy that Kenyans engaged. We are happy that we've been able as a task force to also make recommendations. I believe that, you probably watched the launch and had that we are recommending the declaration of mental health as a public health emergency, an emergency of epidemic proportions, because that then gives it more visibility and gives it more agency in terms of saying that as a country, we need to put our resources into this. As a country, we have reported what we feel. As a task force, we've been able to put it together, and we are saying that we have issues that cannot be dealt with in one day. And so, apart from the recommendation of the declaration, there's also the recommendation to have establish a mental health and happiness commission, so that the issues that we have raised can be able to be dealt with for a long time. Because we assume that mental health is an issue of hospitals or Madare, like you said, but it is an interagency problem. It is an issue that will require a body to bring together different agencies, from human rights to our security sector, to the Ministry of Education, to the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, to private sector in issues of employment.
Absolutely,
So,
How does it trickle down? Exactly. Okay, I want to see if Pastor Mweni can finally hear me. I understand that she's back on Zoom. Okay, so as we get back to Pastor Mweni, let's take a short commercial break. There's definitely more to come on the other side as we continue to engage you on how to have a healthy mind and, most importantly, like Mr. Kim says, a healthy heart. How do these two actually correlate? We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back, but keep talking to us on our social media platforms at K24TV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our WhatsApp line is very active. We'll be taking a look at your feedback in just a moment. Stick with us.
Gabriela is a victim of a terrible twist of fate. Her dream comes crashing down following a road accident.
I said call a doctor right away. Come on, move!
And she starts working as a laborer in Colombian juices. She crosses paths with Pablo Cordoba, the man who hit her with his car.
They won't be seeing much of you around here.
When he sees her, he wants to make up for all the pain he has caused Gabriela.
I have good reason to worry because you haven't fully recovered, Pablo.
And I'm thankful, Gabriela. I didn't tell you because I knew you had to get change.
From that moment on, he constantly debates between carrying out the pact with his father and keep his secret hidden from the woman he loves.
All I'm trying to do is help you change your life.
Sure, but you better stop because I really don't need it and I don't want it.
Gabriela, Sunday to Friday at 8 p.m. only on K24. Catch all the action from legends of the ring, including Ali, Tyson, Mayweather, Lewis, Foreman, Holyfield, Fraser, Duran, Pacquiao, and many more.
At that one, at that fight. Now here's Mike. Keep your eye on Mike. See, Mike has just seen. Look at him. You can see it. You can see it.
KOTV, weekly boxing Monday nights at 10 p.m. Only on K24.
Politics, of course, has not stopped.
There's a lot being done. We have over 86 cases in court.
A politician never knows that what they're doing is genuine until they've completed it.
This has been one of the issues around Africa, around the world.
You see, and because of my professional training...
No. We are not saying that Jubilee failed.
But whatever they are doing is actually not even enough to support a person.
Because you see, people are again exaggerating what is not factual.
Do you consider yourself as part of a political dynasty?
Well, leadership is known during times like this.
Because we cannot all be talking the same language.
Join Ann Kiguta on Punchline every Sunday evening from 9 p.m.
right, welcome back. We're talking about mental health in the wake of COVID-19 and figuring out how do we manage our anxiety, in these trying times. Still in studio with me is the chairman of the International Youth Fellowship, Mr. Yohan Kim. Also with me in studio is the lovely Charity Muturi. She is a member of the Mental Health Task Force for the Ministry of Health and also a person sharing her first-hand experience, living with a mental condition. And if I didn't let you know what my name is, I'm Shiko Kaitani. Remember, our social media platforms are still the same at K24 TV, as well as our WhatsApp line at the bottom of your screen. As our team gets working on the feedback that we are receiving, I'd like to engage Pastor Mweni Wambua, who is a psychologist and grief specialist, joining us via Skype. I understand that all is good to go. Pastor Mweni, apologies for the technical hitch earlier on, but welcome to the show. So if you can hear, Asante, okay, so if you can hear me, I had actually asked you from your findings and of course from all your studies that you've done, if there really is any scientific proof that shows why there are some people who spin or are more predisposed to depression, suicidal thoughts than others.
Shiko, there are people who are more emotionally sensitive to the things that are going on around them. Those people would be more likely to experience emotions that may overwhelm them.
Yes.
Or they may find it difficult to have. They may not have developed healthy coping skills of the things that happen around them.
Right.
And so those people may find themselves struggling when adversity comes to their way.
Yeah.
Another group of people is people who are introverted. People who are introverted tend to not have outlets for the emotions that are going on with them, and therefore they are likely to act inwards when something goes wrong. So those two would be more predisposed.
Yeah.
But essentially, all of us are emotional beings.
Yeah.
And therefore, because we are emotional beings, our emotions are not self-developing. And therefore, they cannot be self-disposing.
Yeah.
Emotions must be processed because our bodies are actually processing units.
Right.
So we process everything that we take in. We don't store anything. Even emotions must be processed.
Okay. One of the problems that people tend to have is that they are not able to pinpoint what the source of their problem is. How do I go about understanding what is really causing me all this grief and sadness, or these highs, these roller coaster of emotions?
Shiko, the sound is not too good, but let me try and attempt. Are you asking how do I identify when something is amiss?
Yeah, how do I identify what could be the problem? How do I identify my problem? Yeah.
Okay, what happens is this, Shiko. We have lived with ourselves long enough to know what is normal and what is not, to know when we are okay and when we are not. And so we need to get to a level of self-awareness that allows us to be able to tell when something is wrong with us. And a level of self-awareness that we are able to wake up every day and say, this is what I am feeling today. And maybe one of the tools that I could advise us to be able to use is as an easily used emotional check that goes by the acronym SASHE. You know, am I sad this morning?
Yeah.
Am I angry? Am I scared?
Yeah.
Am I happy? Am I excited? Or am I tender? That allows you to do a self-assessment easily in the morning or at any time of the day, just to be able to find where are you emotionally.
Yeah, all right. I'll get back to you in just a second. But Mr. Kim, talking about your mind education program, which is what you ideally, let me use the word promoting or advocating for. Would you say that it's a curriculum? How do you go about it? Is it in phases? How do you take people through this journey?
Yes, actually, we have camp so that we give this kind of mind lecture and get the youth also be involved in this program. And during that 1 week camp, we also continuously giving them the awareness about the world of the mind and the world of the heart. And because people, they just live not even considering about this. They think I'm depressed, I am difficult, just because of this impact, this situation, this problem. But in fact, they don't know that their mind is becoming weary and weak. And they don't feel the need of training their mind to become stronger to collide with this kind of difficulties and problems. So we are having the camps, and also we have a school, like we have 1 month programs where we also take them through so that they can learn about this. Yes.
Let's take a look at some of the feedback that we are receiving. I understand they are streaming in through WhatsApp. Look at this one that comes in from Walimu Winston Otieno from Homa Bay, who says, good morning to the panelists. I have the following to inquire about mental health. Number one, having talked of some signs of mental health now, my question is change in eating or sleeping habits a sign of mental illness? How can someone overcome such changes? Number two, you've also talked on stress as not being bad. How about depression? Is it a mental illness or is it a disorder of the brain? How is it solved so as not to lead to death or at least suicide? Thank you so much for that, Mwalimu Winston. I think that's a two-part question that each of you can take, and we'll even reserve some for Pastor Mweni. But let's start with what he asked. How is stress not bad? How do I manage it so that I don't end up with those suicidal thoughts? And then, of course, about changes in behavior and lifestyle as a key indicator. Yeah.
Even me, if I were to give my own experience of what I am also going through, and I'm not right now handling only the youth organization. And there's a church, youth organization, and many other projects that I'm handling, and also facing a lot of challenges and difficulties because of COVID-19. However, now when I look back, a couple of months has passed, I always was able to see that there's always a way. There's always a way out of these situations. Absolutely. And so now a couple of months have passed, and actually I even have spoken to you before we even started the program. Even in our church, we are actually doing better than before.
Right, and you didn't think that you would be.
Yes. At first, I was worried about it. Now we can't gather at the church, and I have about 1,000 members on Sunday gathering together. How are we going together? And now what's going to happen to our brothers and sisters? And especially they're also in this difficult time. How are they going to go over this without having the fellowship together and listening to the word? But now, we are doing the online platform, and I'm getting the members from all around the world, especially most like English-speaking countries. So, there's always a way out. But then when you are not used to that and thinking in that direction, you need a mentor. You need somebody who can guide their thinking in that direction. Also in the stress, in the same thing. Yes, stress. Most of people, majority of the people, they consider stress as a bad thing, and so they only think about wanting to run away from the stress. But what I teach them is when you collide with the stress, then it's not you who is going to lose, but you are more than able to find a way to overcome that stress. And that joy that you gain when you overcome that stress is also really giving you a lot of joy and excitement inside of your heart, and being able to turn over that.
That's some powerful stuff right there. Charity. Yes. Indicators that, by the way, you could be going through depression and you're completely unaware of it. He talked about changes in eating, sleeping.
I think he's on the right path because yes, definitely change in behavior. Whether it is that you're getting irritable more than usual, or you're losing, sleep, or the change in eating patterns, whether it has increased dramatically or reduced dramatically. And I like that he talked about self-awareness, because you know the person that you are, and even the people around you see the person that you are. So even when personally, I don't always realize that I am changing, but people around me are able to tell. And I'm growing in that. I'm growing in that kind of self-awareness to know when something is off. But the thing is, we also don't want to get to a point where now people panic. if you've not been eating well for 2 days, you start panicking. No, I'd say it is good to journal because, like, I am very forgetful, so I might forget what happened last week on Thursday. And so I'd say when you find something is a little off in terms of behavior, in terms of not enjoying social interaction, or not enjoying the things that you used to enjoy doing, or being unable to do basic things that come easily for you. I mean, for everyone, hygiene is mandatory, but even other things that you easily do, hobbies, and then all of a sudden you're not interested, and so on. So I'd say have a journal. Sometimes it's natural to have, you know, a bad day or a very good day. But we're not talking about a bad day. Yes. So when it persists, talk to someone. It can even be a trusted person or a trusted friend. And then if you feel this thing is not really going away, please see a psychologist. Why I say that is because sometimes what we are dealing with is something that, you know, we are like onions. When you remove the first layer that you think I'm just tired, then another layer comes through. And sometimes it's good for a psychologist to take you through, because you may just need some therapy to help you. And especially cognitive-based therapy, where you're able to know this that I did led to this, or this belief that I have led to this. And then if it is not something that requires only therapy, then they would be able to assess and send you to a psychiatrist or any specialization.
All right, Mwalimu, I hope that actually answers your questions. Let me get back to Pastor Mweni, who's joining us via Skype. Pastor Mweni, if you can still hear me, let's talk a little bit about your work as a grief therapist. Interestingly enough, a lot of people don't understand that they are going through some level of loss, and therefore we are grieving. But what do we always associate grief with? Death. But we could be going through quite a number of things.
I think we need to get back to what is the definition of grief. Grief is defined as the conflicting emotions that arise out of the change of life as we have known it. Now that means our losses are not necessarily simply made of death of our loved one. While death of a loved one is one of the many losses that we incur in life. In fact, when I was studying to become a grief therapist, we learned that there are up to at least 42 things that impact the human heart at the level of loss of a loved one.
Wow.
So you have things like loss of a relationship. You have things like loss of status. You have things like loss of health. Even when you transfer children from one school to another, that is a significant loss in the life of children. But we also tend to think of loss as something that only comes with a negative life event. Shiko, today you may leave K24 and move on to another media house, maybe on a promotion. But what will happen to you is that you will grieve the life at K24, because K24 was a familiar space. You knew how to operate in K24. You knew where the studio is. You knew who to call in the case of any problem. Now you go into this new place. It is a seemingly better position for the rest of us that are seated on the outside. But for you, the unfamiliarity of it all makes you grieve the change that has just happened in your life.
Okay. I want to take a look at WhatsApp very quickly, Pastor Mweni, but I'll get back to you in just a sec. But let's see what our viewers have to say concerning today's discussion. Yes, there you go. We've got one here from Yvonne who says, good morning. Thank you so much for today's topic. I lost my sister in February this year after having a misunderstanding with some few days to her demise. From that time, we have been having difficulties accepting that she is no more. Mostly, I keep on thinking about her, especially during the night. Her image keeps on appearing in my mind. Nowadays, I take long before falling asleep. Well, first of all, we're so sorry to hear of your loss, Yvonne. Thank you so much for messaging in. And I'll actually throw that to Pastor Mweni, if I can, in just a few. But let's take a call. Good morning. Who do we have here? Mark. Hello. Okay, yes. Good morning, Mark.
Morning.
Yes, thank you so much for calling in. Do you have a question? Do you have a comment?
Just a comment.
Uh-huh.
I would like to add something to the discussion that is ongoing, and say that I think the way we handle stress and depression depends on one individual to the other, and how you move on from those predicaments.
Yeah.
I would want to say that I've had, or rather I've experienced the worst form of stresses and situations that would make one undergo depression. I lost my parents when I was 1 year old. I've lost my fiance.
Wow.
I've been imprisoned for 3 years.
Whoa.
And I lost my best friend. And these are quite trying times, and really they weigh down on you heavily. But how you rise above them and realize that there's life beyond these challenges and shortfall is what matters. That is my message today.
Wow, thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for being brave enough to share your story. Wow, what a powerful story right there. Can you imagine going through all of this? And this actually brings me to my next question. Let me ask you, Charity, on this one. When you look at the World Health Organization website and all the stuff they have in terms of stress guides on how to cope during COVID-19, one of the ways they say that you should cope with stress is by unhooking yourself from negative thoughts. Is it as simple as that? Look at the case of Mark. How do you unhook yourself from something like that?
It's easier said than done. And I think even for us who go through, who have lived experience with mental conditions and caregivers, because we forget a lot that caregivers also need support. A lot of times we are given the same feedback. There are many times whether put on social media or so on about my mental condition, and then I get an inbox, saying that do not claim it. What you claim is what you possess.
Gosh.
And then now, and I also understand where they're coming from, because there's a place of, positivity. There's a place of self-talk and so on. But getting this person to understand, if I had cancer, would you tell me the same
stop
thing?
claiming
Because there's a very thin line, and that is where we get it wrong. Because yes, self-talk is important. That if I'm coming to a station like this, I can tell myself I can do this, and that there's no problem with that. But we need to get to a place where we normalize mental ill health. We normalize mental conditions so that it's easier to talk about it, but also to understand that this is actually a scientific issue. It's not just an issue of faith. It's not just an issue of positivity.
Exactly. And this is the problem now, where people who are crying out for help feel like we don't understand them, because all you're just telling me to do is be positive.
Yes. So there's a thin line, and we need to be careful. Let us learn, because learning is what helps us. I am empowered today because I've been able to learn what a mental health condition is. I've been able to learn how to take care of myself and so on. So what I encourage people is that since there's so much information at the moment, including in the Mental Health Task Force report and WHO, as you have said, so that you're able to tell where does this thin line end and respond.
All right. Mr. Kim, you've made some very bold moves, even going as far as presenting the MIND program curriculum to President Kenyatta. Why do you believe something like the MIND program should actually be taught on an institutional level, like in schools, in colleges? Why do you feel it needs to be part of that day-to-day learning?
Yes, actually, we believe that this world of the heart and the mind is all made from the children. Yes, this is not something that you easily just think in that direction. They have seen it, how the adults, how your elder siblings, and they behave, and they think, and they also speak. So we believe that this positive mindset and the way you see it positively. And this kind of world needs to be taught from the earlier age, as young as possible. And that's why we believe that if it can be started even from the primary school and they be taught on this, then it will be very helpful and even be very effective even to the society as well. And we believe that even the depression rate and suicidal rate here in Kenya will also be drastically be reduced as well.
Right. And then how do I then start that conversation in my household even before I meet Mr. Kim, before we even get to know what the MIND program is? How do I start planting those seeds right in my home?
Yes, actually, as the pastor had spoken about it, I'm also a very introvert person. I don't know whether you see me as an introvert kind of person or not, but I'm very introvert and I don't really like talking.
But the irony in the pastor.
Yes, but what makes me talk and start having a discussion and also open up my mouth and open up my heart.
Yes.
I believe that opening your mouth is also opening your heart and making your heart to also flow together. Because in our mind education, we teach that as long as your heart can flow together, then your heart becomes strong and also healthy. And so we encourage a lot to speak about your heart. Don't cover it up. In Kenya, I heard that they have that culture. Also, I come from South Korea. And we also have that kind of culture too. You can't really talk about it. You have to hide it. And some like ladies, you can't say these things and you are able to say these things. And those kind of things are there too. But we encourage for them to don't keep it inside and speak about it. But some people like introverts and they don't know how to speak about it. And that's why in the family, society and organization, if they can speak about these things and parents can guide them to do so, especially I like to do it while I'm eating.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
I love eating.
Yes.
And then when you're in the atmosphere of eating something and it's easier for you to talk about it and you don't have to start this kind of conversation from the serious conversations, even just letting out what is your favorite food? As small as that, it makes and train those people to now start talking about their heart and their problems. And so the more they talk, actually their heart and their mind can really become healthy and strong. So some people, they try to start talking about why did you want to commit suicide? What is your problem? We don't have to start from there. Yes, it's something very small. Yes, getting to know that kind of know that person, and so that it can eventually come out by themselves automatically. Yes.
Okay, so we've asked this question about how we can contribute to the community or the society. Yes, you're part of the Mental Health Task Force charity, but in my estate, I come from South B, I come from Rongai, Langata, wherever you are in the country, how do we begin even as a community to just create those safe spaces before we, sample some more text messages?
Okay. I would say start where we are with what we have. We have schools.
Right.
I have a friend at Taita Taveta University who's a lecturer, and she takes the first 10 minutes to just ask her students, how are you doing?
Wow.
And that's a big difference.
It's so powerful.
Yes, it doesn't, we are advocating for mental health education to be in the curriculum with the Ministry of Education. But until we get there, teachers, even during breaks, can ask children, how are you really doing? Especially when you see the behavior of a child, there's something that has changed. Within our churches, we can have, when we're in our Sunday schools and our youth or at the mosque, we can include when people are there, just a 10 minutes or 5 minutes opportunity for people to share or to just go an extra mile. When you see there's something off with someone, just talk to them, but also be a safe space, because if people know you're the one with all the gossip, then they are not likely to come to you.
That is true.
But when you're a safe space, then you would be able to just reach out to the next person.
Okay.
So I'd say start where you are with what you have. You have your family, start there. You have your class, start there.
Okay.
You have your sports team, start there.
I like that. Start those conversations. We've got exactly 7 minutes by order of the director to wrap this up. But there's a lot of stress on the youth, Mr. Kim. But another group that I believe are very vulnerable are men, especially over the age of 45. What practical self-help techniques can men adopt? And even you being a man, you understand what other men are going through. The fact that they've got all this weight on their shoulder to be the providers, the protectors, to be everything, but they just can't scream and talk it all out. And so you see some suicidal rates also in men above the age of 45. What do you think we need to be telling men right now?
Yes, actually, men, they tend to think that men, they cannot just talk about everything, small little things, and they want to put the weight.
Yes.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
Yes, but I really also want to tell men today and to speak it out.
Yeah.
If you can't talk about everything with your wife, find a friend and go speak it out.
Yeah.
Because I believe speaking is very, very important. You don't have to try to speak out from the kind of the core difficulties that you have inside and putting you down. But even just a small thing, as I have mentioned, start talking about it, and without noticing yourself, now those big things and also start coming out of it.
Right.
One thing that I was also taught from my theology school was to continuously have a fellowship now. Yes, a
fellowship. So the right spaces, right socialization. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So also picking who you're with matters.
Yes. And as I'm continuously also having fellowship, without even me noticing, I find my heart moving and changing. Yes, because also when you look in the Chinese medicine, they have this thing called acupuncture.
Yes.
I don't know whether you received that before.
Yes.
You put that needle on the blood lines.
Yes.
And the reason why they do that, people think that you have certain kind of disease because the blood is not flowing through. And with that acupuncture, you are making that way to flow now.
Right.
So as long as even the body behaves in that way, as long as your body, the blood circulates well, and then it is able to cure most of the diseases of our body.
Wow.
In the same way, I believe that the flow of our heart is able to also solve many problems that we have in our heart. So men out there, don't think that you can be a man when you don't talk. It's not that.
Yeah.
We really got to open our mouth and speak out. If it's your friend, if it's a pastor, if it's a men's fellowship group that is able, you can feel comfortable, then go there and speak about it.
Okay. Joseph from Nairobi is on the line. Let's hear what he has to say. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning.
Yes. Karibu sana. Question, comment?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, I have been going through personal stress, whereby I was brought up by my grandmother and my grandfather. But later on, I came to realize my parents where they are. So my problems come whereby I have my parent walks out with my inner stories, family problems. To an extent, I don't know how to confront that problem. And then when it comes even in terms of relationship, you find she's talking to your friends that you should marry. I'm at the age of 29, so that this guy should marry, what. So those things, they give me depression to an extent. I feel like I am on another world, different, and then losing that parental lovehood. So I'd like to be advised. How should I, like recently, I don't know, I had a case whereby I went to see someone who was not feeling okay, and then you see, she called my friends and told them, oh, he has gone to see someone who is sick with the COVID. So I was very angry, and the person I went to see was not with the COVID. So, but everywhere, my friends never wanted to come close to me because I'm going to see someone who has COVID. How can I approach that?
Okay. All right. Joseph, thank you so much. I'm going to redirect your question to Pastor Mweni. I really feel that she, could handle this very well. Pastor Mweni, if you can hear me as we wind up, we've had a gentleman called Joseph who's still struggling with the loss of parental love, even as an adult, still feels that there's a piece missing in his life. At the same time, please combine that with my question of what healthy grieving is, if at all there is such a thing as healthy grieving.
Okay, thank you. Joseph, a parent is what we call an identity marker. So loss of a parent at an early age causes impacts and fractures our identity. And so that happens. And like any other loss that we go through, it creates a need. So what I would ask you to do at this point in time is that while we cannot go back and change the reality that you lost your mother, I would want you to be able to assess your life where you are at today, and looking at what a mother looks like. I would like to ask that you identify for yourself, take a piece of paper and write down the things that you think you lost when you lost your mother. Because we have when we go through loss, we have the actual losses, and then we have the symbolic losses. And the symbolic losses are just as significant as the actual losses, because the actual loss was the loss of the mom. But the symbolic losses is the things that the relationship with the mother brings. You know, a confidant, a friend, a nurturer, a discipline. So you need to begin to look at in your life, what are the symbolic losses that you incurred out as a result of the loss of your mother? Because then that will help you find how can you be able to meet that deficit through other resources. Could it be an auntie? Could it be a relative? Could it be a friend? What are the ways that you can be able to meet that need in a healthy way? But also identify if there have been ways in which you have tried to meet that need in an unhealthy manner.
Pastor Mweni, we are actually out of time from what I understand, but we want to thank you so much for, of course, addressing Joseph's concern. Remember, we can put you in touch with our panelists directly should you require anyone to talk to or any assistance as far as whatever challenge you may be having. I want to say a big thank you to Pastor Mweni Wambua, psychologist and grief specialist, joining us via Skype, the chairman of the International Youth Fellowship, Mr. Yohan Kim. Thank you for being with us. And of course, Charity Muturi, asante sana, and good luck with all that you have lined up as far as the Mental Health Task Force is concerned. We hope this conversation was helpful. May you work your way to a healthy mind and a healthy heart. My name is Shiko Kaitani. Thanks for watching. Paul Mngalambuvi is up next.
Catch all the action from legends of the ring, including Ali, Tyson, Mayweather, Lewis, Foreman, Holyfield, Fraser, Duran, Pacquiao, and many more.
At that fight. Now here's the fight. Keep your eye on Mike. See, Mike has just seen. Look at him. You can see it. You can see it.
KOTV.
Everywhere, GBS.